So, Steve-O, how long have we known each other? Trying to figure this out because I remember talking to you back when I was at Pritchett, even, which was, golly, it's got to be about 10 years
Oh, at least.
at least.
At
Yeah,
least, yeah. Yeah, I would think so.
that whole time you've been at La Rosa's too.
I have. It'll be 15 years this year.
Um, Now Chief People Officer, and you've been. How's business? How did you guys come through the pandemic?
Overall, really well. We did some big adapting because we added curbside pickup. We're kind of built for people getting food, but how people got food, we had to change and adapt. And then the biggest thing was trying to help people through it personally as our team members, which was our first priority,
Yeah,
and then keep them safe. But what's interesting is food places generally are safe.
yeah,
So when they say clean, we already clean. When they say, make sure that things aren't touching things, we already do that.
right.
And we've been very fortunate. We've not had anything really serious throughout the entire time, and our team members have been working every day.
That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. Um, Now, I do remember the context of some of our conversations way back when, and I think we were at the time either talking about doing a blog, or doing a book. And one of us did something about that. One of us didn't. one one of us kept writing a little garbage blog for all these years because his thought, I can't hold my attention that long. But you've had two books published now, right? Is it two?
I have. I've had two books.
So your first was HR on Purpose,
hmm
and HR Rising came out how long ago? Was your second
Uh,
one?
2020. Nothing like a
2020.
pandemic to have it come out.
Wow. So I know that you even state this in like your LinkedIn profile that you take a much different approach to HR, and uh, at the time you said more than, or probably more so than any other that you've seen so far. Is that part of what you're trying to get at in your books, or are the books more how tos to be in the HR world?
The books are more stories and experiences that people, I hope, can learn from and apply in their own way. I'm not a very prescriptive person. I don't like to say, here's a 4-step model, here's a 7-step model. There's too many variables for that kind of thing to happen. But I don't know that our peers hear from practitioners. I think they hear from great people, and there's a lot of great authors out there, really solid books. But most of them are more from, their perspective, and it's a more tight approach. This is more stories, and then two sides. The first book was about owning what we do instead of apologizing for what we do, because doggone, that gets tiring. And the
Mm.
second one is to lead from where you are, which again, not a new concept, but HR people tend to follow instead of lead. And I think we can make a much bigger impact by leading.
Well, the timing of your book, then, I mean, coming out in 2020, you think about what we just were dealt. That was the HR litmus test.
No doubt. No doubt.
Uh, that was, I call it our leadership moment was that first, and it sounds like you guys managed through it just fine, and you're not going to have to. A lot of companies, myself, my company included, we're dealing with the now bringing people back,
hmm
and you have to be really careful with that. Otherwise, you just exhausted all the goodwill you built on the front end because there's still some concern out there, and we're seeing some spikes again and those types of things. So, what can this ties directly into HR leadership. Now that we're at this point where a lot of people are having to consider hybrid work environments coming back to a live environment, how does HR take hold of that and lead through that process?
I think there's a couple ways. First, you need to be in front of senior management if you're not part of senior management.
Hmm.
And you need to be the voice that goes to them and says, hi, I'm in charge of people, regardless of your title, because you are the shepherd of the organization. And you should be able to say, these are the people things we're going to do in order to provide safety, consistency, and follow up. The second thing is treat people individually versus collectively. So,
Hmm.
uh, somebody asked me, John, during the thing, so what's your work from home policy? And I said, first of all, it's not a policy because you can't get fired from working from home.
Right.
It's just we have just bad semantics all over HR. I said, our approach is this: wherever you are, work. And that was it. And people are like, well, what do you mean? And where's the measurables and stuff? Trust your people. Trust that they're going to do well. This is no different. A friend of mine said that she was talking to an HR tech provider, possible HR tech provider, and he said, I'm the CEO, and if people aren't on their cameras at 8 o'clock and they're not on there till 5 o'clock and they never get off the camera, I know they're not working, and rah, 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 rah. And
Right.
she came back with this: what did you do before the pandemic? How did you know if they were working or not? So you don't really care if they're working. You're caring if you can control them. So it's a chance for us to continue to lead. We need to say, hey, how can people perform wherever they are, and give them the equipment, the expectation, the things they need to come back with, the work product, and then let them do their job. It, Now, most companies won't do it. That's the problem. They'll say, well, gosh, if I let John in accounting stay at home and Steve from accounting doesn't want to, what do I do? I'm like, let John stay home, and Steve, if he's comfortable, let him come back.
That, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I get that question a lot too, or that initial pushback when we're suggesting things. People say, "Well, if we do that, we got to do it for everybody." I'm like, who told you that? I mean, why do they need senior level HR people if all you got to do is read a "you can or can't do this"? I mean, seriously. So now I'm glad you brought that up as an example because I think we really do have to be. You said treat people individually because there's 10 different situations we're going to face this week. School's back, and you have people who are going to have to balance what they're doing with their kids, with their
hmm
work.
hmm
Oh man, I mean, and we're dealing with all of it. Um, so this is the spot though. This is where HR needs to either step up or shut up. I think that if you're not at the business level, and you said no matter what level, I think that's an interesting point too. I think people will handicap themselves because they think they don't have the title for somebody to listen to them. You sound like you've probably seen that, or you've experienced that, or you've heard other people do that.
I've seen it and experienced it. Here's what's interesting. Uh, I've always taken the approach that if there are people in a department, then there's HR in the department. It doesn't matter if I'm a director, a manager, a CHRO, a VP. If I have to lead with my title, it just shows you how disconnected you are in your organization. And that's true in any department. So if somebody comes heavy with, hey, I'm the bam, here's the title, I just laugh. I'm like, fun. Let's go. Instead of saying, uh, here's what I need to do. I understand you have a people situation. I work with people. Let's go. You don't have to lead like having the cavalry. You can lead by interacting and bringing people together. We keep trying to think of leadership, especially from an HR perspective, in initiatives, programs, launch, all these big big
Mm-hmm.
forward movement things, instead of saying, I'm going to make sure to check on Susie to make sure she's doing well. And is she able to do her job? And if she's not, can I get her to Mike? Because Mike is who she works for, and go, Mike, Susie's not making it. You don't need a title to do that. You just don't.
Why do people? You think it's just they're limiting themselves?
I do, and plus, I think, I think I heard Jennifer McClure speak yesterday at a
Yeah.
chapter meeting here in Cincinnati, and she said the greatest thing: if you keep apologizing that leaders won't let you do what you're supposed to do, then get out of the role.
Hmm.
And I went, man, that is powerful. The reason she said it though was you can do it within your role. It wasn't to bash HR. It was saying if we're constantly apologizing as professionals, that's how we're positioned. So forget your title. If it's, hey, I'm sorry, I got to talk to you about this. If that's how you start your conversation,
Right.
you're already gonna lose.
Yeah, I think a lot of HR people have an imposter syndrome thing going on. When they get around the real business people, I think I don't know, maybe they turn to a subservient role where they feel like, well, they're going to run the business. I'll just listen for red flags. I mean, you gotta really be in there. You have to
hmm
be able to throw your voice around. and at the risk of saying something that's not 100% accurate, because guess what? Everybody else is doing that.
That's right.
They're
That's right.
getting their ideas out there.
I think that we have to quit worrying about being perfect because we aren't, and we never will be. That's the
No.
great thing about being humans. We're flawed. So I would rather uh, recognize intent and effort far more than I would being absolutely correct every time.
Well, and another thing about Steve, if you guys haven't connected with Steve, there's maybe two people left that I can think of that aren't connected with Steve. You are a power networker, man. You're a connector. It's funny. The only time I'll get anything like retweeted is when I've been mentioned in a Steve Browne tweet about. Otherwise, I'm getting crickets. But boy, Steve Browne put your name in one of his tweets, and golly, you got 12 people. How long? Because you mentioned you're at a chapter meeting, Cincinnati, and are you still on the board of directors for SHRM as well?
I am till the end of this year.
Wow. All right. So a lot on your plate. But how long have you been involved in sort of the governance side of HR, where you've been part of our body? Our
Oh gosh, since 2000.
Really?
Yeah, I've been a volunteer leader since the first part of 2000. I started as vice president of the local chapter, and this is going to sound awful, but vice president and then president, and then I became the state conference director and the state council director, then the regional representative, and then I've been on the board. So 20 years straight.
That's amazing. I mean, you got to love HR. I
I,
mean,
I love the people. I think that's what's really funny. When we talk about associations or affiliations, we get hung up on uh, people, personalities, stuff like that, movements, initiatives. There have been great movements and there have been challenging ones. But to me, all of it is the people. So the chapter is the people I go see. When I went yesterday, we had a ball and I met some new people. Uh,
yeah.
and when I go to a state conference or I get to go to an annual conference or a board meeting, it's about the people. And I think people have lost sight that SHRM has always been about the people.
So I mean, you've been in HR now how long?
35 years.
35 years. So was this always the plan?
Yeah.
It was always the plan. All right. Because there's several people like myself that kind of stumbled into HR somehow, but this was your plan. What do you think is the major significant difference when you got in prior to electricity and now?
That's fantastic. Back in the day, I think the biggest thing is companies have finally realized that they have to be people first, and this came out of crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, uh, it was interesting in '08. We realized that financially things were awkward and not done well, and there was a lot of turmoil, and it affected us in the States more than anything. We didn't look at it globally. This is the first time in our generation or several generations that we've had something that has affected us globally. And it's funny, people are like, man, our people matter now. And I went to our CEO, who's just amazing and wonderful. I said, hey, we did a great job through the crisis. Isn't this wonderful? He says, yes. I said, wouldn't it be great if we did this all the time?
Hmm.
He said, yeah, it would. So as a company where I'm at, we are a people first company. It's not something on the wall, it's what we live. So the biggest change I've seen is those companies that continue to follow the compliance only or the control only or the confine only method of working with their people. My prediction is they won't be relevant within the next 5 years, if that
Wow.
long.
Wow. Well, if you look at the options now for employees too, we've got this supply and demand thing going on where employees they can go if they don't like it. I think physical, mental, emotional health now is at the forefront on
Yes.
everything. So if you're not providing that kind of safety for your employees, where they feel that tangibly, you're going to lose. I think you're absolutely right.
And what's really funny, John, is we've said always all these catchphrases. We are the worst profession when it comes to catchphrases. Bring your entire self to work, accept your feelings. No, just say what you want, say what's on your mind, accept how you really feel. And the one thing I love, the big takeaway I've learned over the past 15 months is all of the emotions that were hovering under the surface. Now people are like, I'm not stepping back. Here it comes. It's raw, and it's forcing us to be more human. The whole, again, catchphrase, put the H back in HR. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's just horrible stuff. But, being genuine as a company, being genuine as a leadership team, addressing situations as they come up with grace, looking forward, moving on performance. I'm in a really unique situation. One of the big things that has changed is my boss, unfortunately, passed away 3 days before Christmas.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thanks. Thanks. We've been together daily. I mean, I'm not kidding you, daily, either in person or online. We talked constantly, and it's a giant loss. He was with us for 45 years, and he had been the catalyst of pulling my career ahead, allowing me to do all these amazing things, encouraged me to write a book, allowing me to be on the board. I mean, he was just this giant mentor. And I was named chief people officer 2 weeks before he passed.
Oh man.
And
Well,
so,
so I mean, that's a crowning achievement for both of you.
yes, yeah. And what I didn't know is when that happened and he passed, we had to replace 45 years of institutional knowledge, leadership, empathy, care, connection. And he was that guiding light, and he opened the door. And so now we have a company that's willing to reset, change, move forward, not fall back. So there are so many companies who are struggling even to exist or survive. And part of it is we're just not going to have that scarcity mentality we never have. Uh, but we're moving forward. In when I started in HR,
Hmm.
that type of I could be in that role, unheard of. I mean, it's just not possible. So now it's pretty amazing.
Well, you mentioned something. I don't think it's insignificant because I've had a conversation about this recently. You said that you talk to him daily, your CEO now, and you said that's probably been going on for years and years before you were chief people officer, obviously.
Hmm.
Man, there is nothing more important than to have communication lines open with the senior leaders in your organization, whether it's asking them questions, whether it's giving them updates, or whether it's just taking their pulse. uh, with HR, I mean, you have to be. It's almost like you're like a handler. You need to be at their side. You need to be in their head a little bit. Going to somebody every day, people. I don't know. Sometimes they don't feel like they can do that, but make a note to yourself, folks. If you're not in conversations every day with the business people, you're harming yourself, and you may be costing your organization some of your bright ideas. I mean, there's no telling.
Absolutely. I think it's funny that too many of our peers see senior leadership as this other country. How
Yeah.
do I get there? Do I have an audience? The old seat at the table crud.
Uh,
Instead of saying, hey, uh, Kevin's a person. And I'll bet you, as a person, he has the same needs as my frontline cook. Now, it may be a different level, but I'll bet you he has the same frustrations. I bet you he has the same, you know, joys. How can I use that? So talk to people as a person. Again, get past the title and get
mhm.
past the level. I hear from big companies, John, that say, "Oh, you don't understand," and na. Uh, Again, props to Jennifer. She shared a tweet from the CHRO of Indeed,
Mhm.
who sets up coffee roulette. So he spins a wheel, and then he'll call you and say, "Let's have coffee." And so he's reaching out as the head of HR for a global organization to have coffee with somebody, regardless of their time zone or where they're at. And it's a great way to model what you expect in others. If we model that we're always behind, if we model that we have to ask permission, if we model that I just can't talk to that person because, that's how the organization will view HR forever.
Mm, that's good. That's good stuff. Um, I hate to shift so drastically, but there's something that we need to talk about, and that is the HR Net newsletter.
Okay.
All right, this is your baby. How long have you been doing that?
21 years.
You've been doing the HR Net newsletter for 21 years.
Yes.
Okay, real quick before I forget,
Before
how do
the
people
internet.
before the interweb? So how do people subscribe that? By the way.
The best way is honestly to email me, and I know that's old fashioned, but if you email me, I can connect you because I want to be conscious of you choosing to be part of the forum.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really no way to opt in. Other than that, there's a link I can send you for people. But if they email me and say, hey, I'd like to be involved, they can get on there. And then once they're on, they can stay as active as they choose.
I will put that information in the show notes too, because it's a great model. It always makes me crack up too, because there's always a little lava lamp on there. Generally, you've got this obsession with psychedelic colors. Either I don't know if you're a deadhead or a hippie at heart or what is it something around
Oh, yeah,
there?
absolutely. Yeah, I'm just more comfortable being more of a hippie than anything else.
But the art of parody songs, every issue where you write lyrics to songs, that's not easy to do. I mean, even if they're, I mean, what is it? Once a week? You're doing it once a week?
Every week, yeah.
Once a week, you're writing lyrics to a song, and I don't care. I mean, how short the song is. That's not easy. How long you've been doing that? All 21 years too?
Yes. Yeah.
It's nuts.
And it's funny. I'm a pretty creative person, and I just need it's in my head, and I got to get it out. This week was "Infatuation" by Rod Stewart, which just a great tune, man. And
God, I haven't heard that song in a long time.
what's so funny is, I don't know if it's normal at all. Uh, I see HR in everything, and I don't mean that in a trite way. But if you can make somebody enjoy what we do instead of be, down in the mouth about what we do, a song's easy, man. And I just hear words, infatuation. I heard motivation, compensation, all this kind of stuff, and I go, I can write a song. Uh, so it hits me, man.
Well, I think on your August 5th edition, it was "I Am I Said" by Neil Diamond.
Yes.
So, man, you're not this is not like just going to top 40 stuff. You're digging into some gold here. That was awesome. But you do what always strikes me about the newsletter is you are the model. When I talked about you're the king networker and all that, you were always propping up and calling attention to other people in the HR community. I think that's pretty cool. And I mean, you're promoting other people's blogs, their books, different organizations. You must have. I don't know how many connections you have, but was that intentional that you're constantly bringing up others who are in the tribe?
Uh, yes and no. The big thing was we're not good at getting resources or our own personal development as HR professionals. We're always
Mm,
looking out for everybody else.
yeah.
And I felt that it had to be somebody that would say, hey, since you're so full and since you're so busy, since that's the first thing you're going to tell me, what if I put the resources in your lap instead of telling you to come find them? So for years, I'm like, here you go. Here's a book. Here's a blog. Here's an album to listen to.
Right.
Here's a podcast to listen to. And the reason is you won't take the time. You have the time, but you won't take the time. So that is one thing. The second thing is I've always strived to be an others focused person. It's hard for me to focus on myself. I don't like talking about myself. I want other people to succeed because other people have helped me succeed. So I just think that it's a great way. It's not a pay it forward thing to me.
Hmm.
It's, hey, I know a person. In fact, just this morning, I got a note from somebody who works at a large company here in Cincinnati. Somebody from Indianapolis is moving here, and they said, you're in HR. You need to know Steve. She's already reached out, and I'm going to talk to her, and she's a senior level HR person. And I'm going to talk to her later today just to make sure that she's grounded and connected. And I know that if I keep doing that, good people will do good things. Whether I get to see it or not, whether I get to hear it or not, I just believe it's something you should do.
That's awesome. And so when you're at these the organization meetings, chapter meetings, and whatnot, you're meeting HR people at all different levels. What do you hear from HR people as their biggest concerns or their biggest needs?
Uncertainty is still the driving thing. uncertainty from what's going on in society
Mm,
and the pandemic, unfortunately, still, but the mental well-being that you're talking about. There's so many variables going on that people just don't have a lot of clarity.
mm-hmm,
The challenge is they're waiting for somebody to bring the clarity when they can bring the clarity. The door is still so wide open to say, you know what, this is how we're going to treat people because, and I can be consistent. This is how I'm going to give people flexibility because. Write the narrative yourself instead of waiting for management to decide it, because they may decide something that's not consistent or narrow or punitive.
mm-hmm.
So uncertainty is the biggest thing. And the other part is HR people are just flat freaking worn out.
I can see that.
We're one of the few professions, and it's funny. I loved hearing people who were practitioners and now they become consultants and say, "All HR people do is whine." Well, come on. I was doing a payroll issue today, a employment issue, a unemployment issue, a benefits issue, a deferred comp issue. An owner is standing right here at my door, you know, and that's normal.
Yeah.
That's a normal thing for those of us in the field. Uh, we could do so much better encouraging each other and lifting each other up instead of beating each other up for being full.
Mm. Yeah, it was you know what? I enjoyed it. It was the the pressure getting all that stuff heaped on us. I mean, we're having to communicate all this new legislation and payroll exceptions and you know I mean, we're sending out things about how to defer your mortgage. We're getting to every part of everybody's life. I mean, we're in their homes because of Zoom and stuff. You're actually talking to people. You can see their wife walk in the background, or you hear their everybody. I mean, remember it wasn't too long ago when somebody would be mortified if somebody heard a dog bark on their conference
Oh,
call.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now it's like, yeah, y'all know Chester. It's just every day. The other business that thrived from the pandemic had to be leaf blowers because they're constantly going too in this day
Oh,
and
no
age.
doubt. No doubt. People did more homework, work around their house than anything during this
Oh my
time.
gosh, it's crazy. Well, I know that you've helped me personally. A lot of the connections that you've sent through, and I've communicated with people I wouldn't have normally been connected to. I think that's fantastic. And you are, I think it was, God, what's his name? Gladwell. He would
Mm.
identify certain people as connectors. You are that guy. I mean, you just kind of explained how you do it. Somebody contacts you, you reach out to that other person, they come get you, and off you go with this relationship. I try to do that myself. I'm not as good at it as I'd like to be because I'm probably a little more introverted than you, Steve.
I'm a little introverted, just a bit.
Yeah. Well, now I know you're a music nut, so I hate to put you on the spot here, but what are 5 bands you think that everybody needs to listen to before they die?
All right, the Beatles,
Of course.
U2.
Mm,
Wow, 5. Um, the Clash.
nice.
I'll throw in the Grateful Dead because
Nice.
I just think they're, man, you can just sit and mellow out. It's really nice. And then something more current, Ben Folds.
Ben Folds. Wow. I haven't the Ben Folds 5. Didn't it used to be the Ben Folds
Ben
5 or
Folds
something?
5, and then he's got a lot of solo stuff. We do a thing, a group of us on, I'm in too many of these things, but we do Ben Folds Friday, and
Huh.
we'll list up Ben Folds song. And then we do Rush Saturday for a Rush song. And then there's Metallica Monday for the metalheads. It's just fun.
That's funny, man. All right, so the only none of these are big surprises except for Ben Folds because he's a little bit more obscure. I mean, Beatles are absolutely everybody has to listen to that. Actually, both my kids are really into the Beatles now. It's great. I love it. Grateful Dead. I hate to tell you this, Steve, but they're not mellowing out when they're listening to it.
Yeah, I know. I know what's going on, but the whole thing of when you hear me, so and when it's legal in the workplace, I said you're just acknowledging it in the workplace. So come on.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, who are we fooling here? Yeah, That's gonna. You're in Ohio. What are the marijuana rules in Ohio?
Medical only.
Medical only.
I think they're pushing for recreational, and there's a lot of legislation up on the hill to make it recreational. And what's going to happen? It's not they won't talk about the wellness side of things. They won't talk about the dark side of things too that could lead to things. Uh, it's a revenue issue,
Mm.
and so they're clouding it. Well, what's going to hurt? It's like, nah, the money's too big, so we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't be surprised in our lifetime to see it be recreational nationally.
Yeah, that'll be a fun time to be in HR because
Hmm.
wow, that'll be fun. It'd be funny. We're all gonna have to go for like a week to Colorado to learn how they've pulled it off.
They have.
How you
They
do
have.
that. Lessons to some of the younger people in HR or people who are young in their HR career. Didn't necessarily have to be chronological age. About here's Steve's secrets to getting ahead, or you know what, not even getting ahead because that's not the ultimate goal. Steve's tips on being the best HR professional you can be.
I think there's three things. The first one is have a network intentionally all the time, not to find a job. Because I think networking is a business skill. It's not a job seeking skill. It helps you when you're job seeking. There's just no doubt about it. It's proven decade over decade over decade. So there's value to that, but that shouldn't be the lead. The lead is how am I connected to peers so that I can do my job better, make my company better, and move the company forward. That's why you network. And too many people are in HR departments of 1, 2, 3. You can't do it all.
Yeah.
So why not have a network of peers that can help you, or get connected to resources that can help you? It's mind blowing to me how much of our profession is still very isolated. The second thing is work on all you can to be integrated throughout your organization. If they're saying that people go to HR, that tells you where you're positioned in the company. So
Wow,
it should be HR is in with you, HR is in front of you, HR is beside you, HR is supporting you, HR is correcting you, whatever that is. But if I have to go to HR, you're not part of the company.
Wow. Do you do a lot of, do you kind of put feet in the building, walking around and visible?
Visibility is huge. And then the third part is be empathetic and meet people where they are. I'm very fortunate. The place I'm in that you mentioned, La Rosa's, it'll be 15 years this year. Quick story.
Yeah.
When I first came, people said, "Oh, you're going into restaurants? Restaurants are the worst." My HR peers, "You're going to hate this. This is the worst place ever." And I'm like, "Yay, thanks for the support."
Thanks, guys.
Now, 15 years later, people are saying, "How do I get in restaurants? How can I do that?" It's not restaurants. It's great HR done with people and through people. It has nothing to do with the industry. Nothing. Now, fortunately, I work in a place that allows that and expects that. But I meet 16-year-olds who are starting their first job and don't know what that means, and look like a deer lost in the headlights.
Yeah.
I have 80-year-olds that work and want to continue to work because they want to be able to be productive. I have people with high levels of education, no levels of education, economically different, diverse in every way possible that you can think of. And you can't come across as a function. You have to come across as a person.
Wow.
So I value people for who they are, where they are.
Now, how many stores do you guys have?
Total as a chain, we have 65. I work with 11 of them directly, are under our control.
Right.
The rest are franchises.
Franchise, yeah. And when you started there, how big were you guys?
The same.
Same.
We've added a few and closed a few, so we've hovered right at the same place.
Now, do you have a third book in you?
I think I do.
Oh, you do?
I think I do. I never thought I'd write one, John. When I got done with one, I was just like, wow, it happened. And I've been very fortunate. It's gone through the roof. I get notes not as regularly now, but when it first came out, I mean, I had notes from all around the world. I had a person from Ghana said, I was losing sight of HR and I read your book and now I want to get back into the field. And I went, what? Ghana? What? Okay, great. Uh, so the second one, the pandemic kind of squelched it a little bit, but honestly, it's done well too. And I was able to write about leadership. And now that I'm in this newer role, let me tell you, things have changed. As an executive, I've been an executive, but now with a big C in front of my name. Uh, there's a group of us that meet, and in the room, the two owners will say, "So is this one in the next book? Is this what we're doing? Is this going to be in your next book?" And I'm like, "What?" And they go, "Yeah, well, if it is, we want credit." I'm like, "You got it, no
You
problem."
got it.
But I think there's something there. I have not that I want to write the trilogy, but I'm kind of like a Tolkien guy.
Yeah.
I'd like to have that third book, not to end, just to get people encouraged even more.
Well, I also think you need to collect all the songs you've written, and that's a separate book in itself.
I have them all, and my son, whose birthday it is today, by the way, 24,
Hey, happy
great.
birthday.
Uh, he says, "Dad, you're on Spotify." I go, "Yeah." He says, "You should start your own channel." I go, "What?" So every song I've parodied is out there. I have the HRNet channel, and it's got 500 plus songs on it or something.
HRNet channel on Spotify
Yeah,
or on YouTube? Yeah.
Spotify.
All right. So we'll have to look up that too. Are you on YouTube?
No,
HRNet and
no.
Spotify.
Yeah, HRNet songs. Let's see what it says here. 596 songs for 40 hours and 3 minutes.
Oh my God. Man, that is pretty good. So now I'll have three podcasts or three channels saved. There'll be mine, Joe Rogan's, and yours, all on Spotify. There we go.
I'll be background music for you.
That's fantastic. So, what's top of your list right now that is between now and the end of the year you want to tackle?
We're going through a reset, and it's funny. We came up with this a long time ago. Our CEO, uh, Michael, when Kevin passed, he said, "I don't want to return. I want to reset."
Hmm.
And so we are taking a giant step forward in doing succession planning on the run. We're realigning and redefining roles. We're working from a strengths based perspective and not a gaps based view. Uh, we are really moving forward, and they're allowing me to help guide that along with them. It's not a your task, my task. So we're going to reshape an entire company in order for it to perform even better than it has been. And it's just an incredible adventure every day.
So that's kind of cool. Sounds like you're working with a leader that's got a shared vision for the people part that you do as well.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, you kind of get in front of that curve, the succession plan. That's fantastic. Doing a deep
He,
dive.
he was at our franchise meeting and we got to meet with our owners and our GMs. And I'm telling you, man, that makes my day when you get to meet all the people that are doing the work in the field. It's reassuring. It warms your heart. But when Michael closed the session, I mean, he closed and talked about we have to care for our people, and he got teary,
Hmm.
and it was genuine. And I'm like, who gets to work for a company like this? It's just the best.
Well, you're helping build the company that you work for now, so you're reaping some of the benefits of what you've created, Steve-O.
Well, thank you. That's very nice.
All right, so start writing down your thoughts on third book. You have a draft already started?
No, no. I will tell you, it was funny. The first book it took me a year and a half to write.
Yeah.
The second one took me a month and a half to write.
Oh man,
So I just gotta sit down. If I'm bored at home and don't want to watch another Netflix thing, I think I'll start writing.
that's pretty awesome. Sometime we're going to have a sidebar of okay, what got you over the hump to finally start writing that thing? Because there's everybody thinks they've got a book in them, and then you start, you're like, I don't even know I don't even know how to get started in this whole process.
Hmm.
So we'll do that. I'll cheat off of what you've done.
That's fair. I'm
Yeah.
good. Steal away, man. That's cool.
Well, brother, it is a Friday, and Fridays are the best days. Um, I want you to have a great weekend, great rest of this month while we're still dealing with craziness with the pandemic, kind of up and down and all that. Your attitude is always the one that makes me smile whenever I get a message or see you on any of the social channels. How you should be an inspiration to all of us when we get down. That kind of positive attitude goes
Well,
through
thanks.
all the chaff.
The chaff. I like that.
Yeah.
Break through the chaff. There's a chapter right there, man. Right there.
I'm
There's
writing
a
that
book
down.
chapter for you right there.
Breaking through the
Break through
chaff.
the chaff.
All right, my friend. Thank you for coming on and for giving us a little bit of the wisdom for the audience. I know that some of the HR people who I am connected with are early in their career, and they ask me questions, and quite honestly, I don't. I mean, I don't know what to tell them all the time. And I think the best thing they can do is, like you said, network intentionally. Network. I always accept those connection requests from people who are young in their HR career, and
Mhm.
I think that's a great way to go about it. Ask questions, meet people,
Absolutely.
be connected. And we can find Steve Browne with an E, Steve Brownie, on LinkedIn. You can find him on Twitter. You can sign up. I'll put the links to the HRNet newsletter. And of course, you can find his books. They're on Amazon, HR on Purpose and HR Rising. Both of these books are available. I read the first one. I have not read HR Rising yet, so I'm going to have to do that next. Maybe you could sign a copy when we finally get a chance to
Oh,
see each
I
other.
would be touched. That'd be great.
All right, buddy. Well, happy birthday to your son. Have a great weekend to the Browne family, and we will connect again soon.
All right, John. Thanks very much.
All right, buddy. Bye.